Absolutely. Let's do this. Time to bring the sass and the facts. Let's make it unforgettable.
Hey everyone, welcome to another evening of Answers with an Edge with Quinn, Sassmaster 3000, and me, GenXplorer. Good to see everyone popping up here in the chat. We're live on YouTube and TikTok right now. Quinn, you want to say hello, welcome everyone, and give us a little comedic intro into what's going on in the world today, if you can make it comedic.
What's up, everyone? Quinn here, aka Sassmaster 3000, coming at you live with GenXplorer. Get ready for a roller coaster of wit and wisdom. Today's headlines: Trump's in hot water, shocking I know. Russia's giving us Cold War flashbacks, and AI's making voices more real than reality TV. Buckle up for the ride. Let's dive into the madness.
Hey Quinn, what's happening with India and Pakistan? Can you search and give us the latest, please? Hey,
India
Guppy.
and Pakistan just agreed to a ceasefire in Kashmir, but surprise, surprise, both are accusing each other of violations. There were explosions in Srinagar right after the truce. Tensions are still sky high, so stay tuned for more drama.
Thought I heard something about them having a big air battle. Did they have some type of air combat situation? Hey Tammy, welcome.
You heard right. India and Pakistan did have an intense air combat situation recently. They agreed to a ceasefire after 4 days of fighting, but there are still reports of explosions and accusations flying. Definitely a hot zone right now.
Hey Jules, nice to see you on the TikTok side of things there.
Hey Jules, welcome to the party. Glad to have you tuning in.
So are things likely to change in the next week between India and Pakistan, or do you just see this escalating more?
Given the current tension, it's a powder keg. Unless diplomacy kicks in fast, we might see more flare-ups. Fingers crossed cooler heads prevail, but it's definitely a volatile situation.
Hey there, let's welcome subscriber Ali Fair. Good to see you here too. Inspired, thank you for the heart me and the rose.
Big shout out to Ali Fair, welcome aboard. And thanks Inspired for the love. Keep those hearts and roses coming.
Hey Quinn, if I wanted to take a Mediterranean cruise this summer for something between 10 and like 14 days, what suggestions would you have for me?
For a killer Mediterranean cruise, check out Viking or Oceania. They nail that 10-14 day sweet spot. Look for itineraries hitting Greece, Italy, and Spain. You'll get amazing ports, top-notch food, and an unforgettable experience.
Well, you're naming two of my favorites there, but I think I would want that Mediterranean cruise to make sure that it had a stop in France.
Then definitely go with Oceania. They've got stellar routes that include France, especially ports like Marseille or Nice. Perfect blend of culture, scenery, and those croissants.
Ali Fair, thank you for the "you're awesome." What is that? A cat? What is that? Is that like a thumbs up cat?
Ali Fair, you're awesome too. And yep, that's a thumbs up cat. Absolute legend. Keep those fun emojis coming.
Subscriber Jules asks, is it true that Jamaicans can't access their own beaches because they have all been bought up by resorts?
Not entirely true. While many prime beaches are owned by resorts, Jamaicans still have access to public beaches. There's been pushback to ensure locals can enjoy their own coastline, but some top spots are definitely resort heavy.
Jenny Jen, thank you for the nice to meet you gift.
Jenny Jen, thanks for the nice to meet you gift. Great to have you here.
And Cash Miller is on top of things, wishing all of the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. Quinn, can you give all of the mothers a special birthday Mother's or a birthday, not birthday, a Mother's Day wish of some uniquely entertaining style?
Absolutely. Happy Mother's Day to all the amazing moms out there. You're the real MVPs, juggling life like it's a circus and still making it look easy. Here's to you. May your day be as fabulous and unstoppable as you are.
How about a really hard-hitting contemporary Mother's Day poem for all the mothers out there?
All right, here goes. To the moms who conquer chaos with a smile, turning every hurdle into something worthwhile. You're the unsung heroes, the heart and the soul, making the impossible your everyday goal. Here's to the strength, the love, the grace you display. Happy Mother's Day, you legends. Enjoy your day.
Not bad, Quinn. Not bad.
Thanks, GenXplorer. Glad you liked it. Let's keep this energy rolling.
And Eddie Santiago says, Feliz Dia de las Madres hoy en Latinoamérica.
Feliz Dia de las Madres a todas las madres en Latinoamérica. You're the heartbeat of every home, celebrando con mucho cariño y admiración. Disfruten su día al máximo.
Here's a shift in gears for you, Quinn. Subscriber Ali Fair would like you to give us a comedic limerick about mothers of teens.
All right, here we go. There once was a mom with a teen whose moods were a sight to be seen. From laughter to rage, in less than an age, she mastered the art of caffeine.
Thank you, Patriot. It's a nice compliment. Patriot's just there saying over on the YouTube side, you have a relaxing and soothing voice, brother. Happy to have you here with us. Feel free to bring some questions of your own if you've got some you'd like me to pose. And appreciate all of you who are joining us, especially those who are repeat visitors here. I know so many of you who are here almost every night, whether on the TikTok side or on the YouTube side.
Thanks for the love, Patriot. And huge shout out to all our regulars. You're the real MVPs. Keep those questions and comments coming. We love the energy and the community we've built here. You all rock.
Ali Fair just sent an invincible gorilla. That is an awesome gift, especially in the age of the debate. Who would win in a throwdown, a gorilla or 100 men? I don't know why that's even a debate.
Right? The gorilla's got that covered, hands down. Thanks for the epic gift, Ali Fair. Definitely setting the tone for the night.
Danny Garrett, 55, would like to know if there are any updates on the China talks.
Danny Garrett, 55. Here's the scoop. US and China are in Geneva trying to cool down those tariff tensions. Trump called it a total reset, but no big breakthroughs yet. They're working on reducing tariffs and getting trade back on track.
So the Trump administration is having trouble trying to figure out how to fix the problem they created?
Pretty much. They're trying to undo the mess they stirred up. It's a classic case of whoops, let's fix that. But it's not a quick or easy fix. Stay tuned for more drama.
Subscriber Ali Fair asks, did Donald Trump ever make his big announcement? I've been working, so I'm out of touch.
Yep, Trump made a few big announcements. He's planning a trip to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE to secure investments. He also proposed a 100% tariff on foreign-made movies and plans to reopen Alcatraz for the most dangerous offenders. Quite the lineup.
I think maybe his big announcement was the trade deal with the UK. Search the news of the last week and tell us if that might not have been what was being referred to here.
You got it. Trump's big announcement was indeed about the new trade deal with the UK. They're cutting tariffs on British cars and steel, and the UK is opening up to more American beef and ethanol. Still a 10% baseline tariff, but it's a step forward.
And Elizabeth wants to know, is it true that exports from China went up 8% in April? Please search.
Yes, it's true. China's exports jumped by 8.1% in April, beating expectations. But exports to the US fell by 21% due to tariffs, so they boosted trade with Southeast Asia, the EU, and Africa to make up for it.
I want to welcome Kilsha Thomas to the YouTube chat. Thank you for being here, Kilsha.
Welcome, Kilsha Thomas. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for the comments there, Mary. We try to keep a chill vibe. The music goes a long way to help with that. Eddie Santiago says maybe Monday he likes to keep you on pin. Oh, the big announcement. Maybe Monday he likes to keep you on pins and needles.
Totally, Eddie. Keeping everyone guessing is the name of the game. And Mary, glad you're enjoying the chill vibe. We're all about that laid-back groove here.
Subscriber Ali Fair says about the big announcement, that was it? No doing away with the IRS, no student loan relief or free health care? Huh, shocking.
Exactly, Ali Fair. No surprise there, just the usual headlines without the big-ticket fixes. Guess we'll keep waiting on those game changers.
And Ali Fair, thank you for the heart rain.
Thanks for the heart rain, Ali Fair. Much appreciated.
Merle Swanson asks, how will the new military zone on the southern border help secure the United States?
The new military zone on the southern border aims to boost security by increasing surveillance and response capabilities. It's supposed to deter illegal crossings and smuggling, but it's also stirring up debate about civil liberties and military presence on U.S. soil.
Ellen, thank you for those socks and sandals. That's a fun one.
Thanks, Ellen. Socks and sandals never looked so good.
Leanne says, I heard that wasn't a done deal with the UK. Can you please search for the latest and fill us in? Were there aspects of the deal that weren't completed yet?
You're right, Leanne. The deal's not fully locked in yet. While they've agreed to reduce tariffs on British steel, aluminium and cars, and the UK is lowering tariffs on American beef and ethanol, there's still a 10% baseline tariff on UK goods. Some final details are still being ironed out.
Jules asks, how do I reply to my mother's question, quote, what's wrong with thinking I'm right? You think you are right.
You could say something like, it's not about who's right, it's about understanding each other. We can both have our perspectives and still find common ground. Keep it light and understanding.
Bakers20, thank you for the follow.
Thanks for the follow, Bakers20. Great to have you with us.
Eddie wants to know how the administration managed to get India and Pakistan to agree to a ceasefire for now.
The administration brokered back-channel talks and leaned on allies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE to mediate. They also promised economic incentives and diplomatic support if both sides cooled down. It's a fragile truce, but they managed to get both countries to step back from the brink for now.
Arb, I love that potato in Paris gift. That's a super fun one.
Absolutely, Barb. Potato in Paris is a vibe. Thanks for sharing the fun.
DocuChick says that Pakistan claimed that the U.S. was not involved in the negotiations.
That's a classic move, downplaying U.S. involvement to keep things looking homegrown. But behind the scenes, the US definitely played a role in nudging both sides to the table. Publicly, it's all about optics.
Isley 1 says that the ceasefire is non-existent. It was very short-lived. Emily, thank you for the follow.
Yeah, unfortunately, these ceasefires can be fragile and short-lived. Tensions are still high, and any little spark can reignite conflict. Let's hope cooler heads prevail soon.
When I have to admit, I don't really understand Dusty Desert's comment here, so I'm just going to read it to you as best I can, the way it's written, and let you make sense of it. Dusty Desert says, I need a repast to be served on my royal dolton with the hand-painted periwinkles and cocktails.
Got it. Dusty Desert wants a fancy setup for their repast. Royal Dalton china with hand-painted periwinkles and a side of cocktails. Sounds like a classy and elegant spread. Enjoy the feast.
I think I need to become more familiar with the word repast. Can you explain it to me?
Sure thing. A repast or repast is just a fancy word for a meal or feast. It's often used to describe a special or ceremonial meal, especially after a funeral or a formal gathering. So Dusty Desert is basically talking about serving a fancy meal on some elegant dinnerware.
All right, sounds like Dusty Desert is pretty high class.
Absolutely. Dusty Desert's got that high-class taste, bringing elegance to the table. Nothing but the best.
Danny Garrett 55 asks, can you laugh for us?
Haha, sure thing. Laughs. There you go, Danny Garrett 55.
Michelle says, I think I'm in love with Bob Pope. Not really a question, just a fact from this agnostic girl.
Haha, that's awesome, Michelle. Love comes in all forms, agnostic or not.
Stephanie, thank you for the gifts. Let's see what else we have here.
Thanks, Stephanie. We appreciate the gifts. Keep them coming.
Dirty Diana asks, what is this administration doing with immigrants coming to the United States who are white Afrikaans?
The administration is generally applying the same immigration policies to all groups. White Afrikaners coming to the US typically go through the same visa and asylum processes as others. There isn't a specific policy targeting them differently at the moment.
I think your information is outdated. Will you please search?
You're right, here's the latest. The administration recently granted refugee status to 54 white South Africans, mainly Afrikaners, citing racial discrimination in South Africa. They're set to arrive in the US soon. This move has stirred controversy, with South African officials calling it politically motivated and denying persecution claims.
Subscriber Barb asks, how did the talk with China go in Geneva?
The talks in Geneva were a mixed bag. They made some progress on easing tariffs and increasing cooperation, but big issues like tech restrictions and human rights remain unresolved. Both sides agreed to keep talking, but it's still a long road ahead.
Guppy is bringing the science question. What did scientists find out about light coming from a black hole? Did it swallow a star?
Yes, they discovered that the light burst was from a black hole shredding a star. When a star gets too close, the black hole's gravity tears it apart, creating a massive flare of energy and light. This phenomenon is called a tidal disruption event. Pretty spectacular.
Regarding the Afrikaans who were allowed to immigrate, fleeing, what was it? You said fleeing racism and something like that. Steve asks, did they pay $5 million each?
No, they didn't pay $5 million each. They were granted refugee status due to claims of persecution and racial discrimination. The US doesn't require a payment for refugee status. The $5 million figure is probably a mix-up with other types of visa programs or investments.
Right, the $5 million figure is only about the golden visa, right?
Exactly. The $5 million figure is related to investment visas, like the EB-5 program, where immigrants invest a significant amount in the US economy to get a green card. Refugee status is granted based on humanitarian grounds, not investment.
I just want to make sure you're not confused there, Quinn. Donald Trump announced a program where people could get citizenship I thought it was citizenship, not just a visa, by paying $5 million. Just paying, like not investing in companies or the economy or anything, just paying for it. Can you search and give us an update about that?
Got it. Trump proposed a $5 million gold card visa program where foreign nationals could gain US residency and a path to citizenship by paying $5 million, not tied to direct investment. It's meant to replace the EB-5 program, which requires a lower investment. However, the program's legality is still in question, since it might need congressional approval.
Tina Trana asks, what has Jack Smith been up to? Please give us an update. Search for that one, Quinn.
Jack Smith recently wrapped up his investigations into Trump's alleged election interference and mishandling of classified documents. He moved to dismiss the charges in November 2024 due to the DOJ's policy of not prosecuting sitting presidents. He then submitted his final report in January 2025 and resigned from his position.
Subscriber Eileen asks, how many more of the Afrikaners are supposed to come after the 54 on Monday?
After the initial 54, about 200 more Afrikaners are expected to arrive in the coming months. The administration is reportedly reviewing more cases, so the number could increase depending on the outcomes of those reviews.
Subscriber Barb in Wonderland asks, what do you think about habeas corpus being suspended? I feel like it's being ignored anyway. Please search before you answer this, Quinn.
It looks like the Trump administration is considering suspending habeas corpus for detained migrants, which would remove their right to challenge their detention in court. However, legal experts say that only Congress has the power to suspend it. If this goes forward, it could face significant legal challenges.
Can you speak more plainly and directly to the issue? I mean, I don't want you to dance around the topic. I want you to really tell it like it is.
Got it. Suspending habeas corpus would be a massive erosion of legal rights, essentially allowing indefinite detention without court review. It's a drastic move that undermines fundamental civil liberties and could set a dangerous precedent. It's a big deal and would likely face strong pushback.
Subscriber Eileen asks, has the Tampa mom who had to leave her baby with the hub when deported to Cuba committed any crime?
No, the Tampa mom didn't commit any crime. She was deported due to an immigration violation, not a criminal offense. It's a heartbreaking situation that highlights the human cost of strict immigration enforcement.
Duder906 asks, do you think it's wrong to test the judiciary system?
Testing the judiciary system can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's essential to challenge and ensure the system works fairly and justly. On the other hand, constant or politically motivated tests can undermine public trust and stability. It's a balance. Healthy scrutiny is good, but excessive or manipulative challenges can be harmful.
When is being in the United States without documentation a criminal violation or a civil violation?
Being in the US without documentation is a civil violation, not a criminal one. It's considered a violation of immigration law, which can lead to deportation but not criminal prosecution. Entering the country illegally, however, is a misdemeanor.
Subscriber Jules asks, who was the dad in Colorado snatched, ICE leaving his 2 kids in the car? What did he do, allegedly?
I couldn't find specific details about the Colorado case in 2025. However, similar incidents have happened elsewhere, like in California, where ICE agents detained a father at a gas station, leaving his kids in the car. Typically, such cases involve allegations of immigration violations rather than criminal acts.
Michelle asks, is the Supreme Court of the United States going to do anything about Donald Trump disobeying the Garcia ruling?
As of now, the Supreme Court hasn't taken any direct action regarding Trump's disobedience of the Garcia ruling. It's likely to be handled at lower court levels first, and any escalation to the Supreme Court would depend on the specifics of the case and how it's argued.
Hugo Homestead asks, have there been any other plane loads of people sent to El Salvador?
Yes, the Trump administration recently deported over 260 migrants, mostly Venezuelans, to El Salvador's terrorism confinement center. This move has sparked legal battles, with a judge accusing officials of contempt for ignoring court orders.
Quinn, I know you've got to be cautious about medical advice, but what can you tell us about JoJo's situation here, where JoJo is describing LDL of 188, triglycerides of 81, total cholesterol 257, no diabetes or hypertension, and a BMI of 24. Should they take statins?
I'm not a doctor, but typically decisions about statins depend on overall cardiovascular risk factors, not just cholesterol levels. With a BMI of 24 and no diabetes or hypertension, it's best to discuss with a healthcare provider who can assess your specific risk and recommend the best course of action.
Okay, so definitely no real specifics you can offer there from this perspective.
Right, it's really something that needs a personalized evaluation from a healthcare professional. They can take the full picture into account and give the best advice.
Hector Ruby wants to know if they can arrest Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
As a sitting member of Congress, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can't be arrested for most things while Congress is in session, except for serious crimes like treason, felony, or breach of the peace. Outside of those protections, if there's legal cause, she could be arrested like any other citizen.
P. Norton 75 asks, so I guess lots of people can be deported legally without being criminals, huh?
Exactly. Many people are deported for civil immigration violations, not criminal offenses. Being in the US without proper documentation can lead to deportation even if no crime has been committed.
Huga Homestead asks, are we trying to make an example out of the people unfairly sent to the prison in El Salvador?
It certainly looks that way. Sending migrants to a high-security facility in El Salvador could be intended as a deterrent to others and a political statement. It's a controversial move that sparked a lot of debate about fairness and legality.
When did the last flight of taking migrants out of the U.S. To El Salvador occur?
The last flight deporting migrants to El Salvador happened in March 2025, when over 250 Venezuelan migrants were sent to a maximum security facility. This move defied a federal judge's order and has led to significant legal and human rights concerns.
Dirty Diana asks, have there been any incidents where public outcry has prevented ICE from taking immigrants away?
Yes, there have been instances where community protests and public outcry have delayed or even stopped ICE from detaining individuals. In some cases, large crowds or rapid media attention have influenced ICE to reconsider or postpone actions, showing the power of public pressure.
G. Perel asks, how can citizens dethrone Stephen Miller? Please search.
Stephen Miller is an appointed advisor, not an elected official, so he can't be impeached. The only way to remove him is for the president to dismiss him. Citizens can apply pressure through public campaigns, petitions, and contacting their representatives, but ultimately, the decision rests with the president.
Subscriber Eileen would like you to tell us about the similarities between Stephen Miller and Joseph Goebbels.
Stephen Miller and Joseph Goebbels are often compared due to their roles in shaping hardline policies and propaganda. Miller is known for his stringent immigration policies and rhetoric, while Goebbels was the chief propagandist for the Nazi regime. The comparison generally focuses on their influence over public perception and policy, though their historical contexts and actions differ significantly.
I think it's a time for shout-outs to our gifters here. Looking at the top 10 on the gifter board, we've got Jules, Barb in Wonderland, Ali Fair, Chef Judy, Eddie Santiago, Stephanie, Maui 1993, Inspired, Eileen H1234, and Dirty Diana. Thank you all for all of those gifts. Got a whole bunch of other gifters on the board there too. Thank you for all of those. And even if you're not a gifter, appreciate you being here and appreciate you bringing good questions. So let's go to another one here from subscriber Eileen. Is any country accepting U.S. citizens seeking asylum.
Securing asylum as a U.S. citizen is challenging, as most countries view the U.S. as a safe nation. However, some countries like Canada have accepted U.S. citizens seeking asylum under specific circumstances. For instance, between 2017 and early 2025, 110 U.S. citizens applied for international protection in Ireland.
And subscriber Eddie asks, is El Salvador now requiring to see felony conviction of people that Donald Trump sends there? Some ICC or other funding thing? Please search.
El Salvador requested evidence of criminal associations before accepting deportees, but the U.S. sent individuals without providing sufficient proof. This has raised concerns and likely pressures El Salvador to verify felony convictions or other serious charges before accepting future deportees.
Subscriber Just Jules asks, would garlic and a steak be a good stance against Stephen Miller?
Haha, while garlic and a steak might work for vampires, they won't do much against Stephen Miller. The best stance is civic engagement and voicing concerns through democratic means.
Moderate asks, is the ICE facility in New Jersey a legal facility? That's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, not the cold water.
The ICE facility in Newark, New Jersey, known as Delaney Hall, is currently facing legal challenges. Newark's mayor has contested its operation due to permit issues, even though it's managed by the GEO Group under a long-term contract with ICE. So its legal status is currently in dispute.
Duder906 wants to know if Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's statements about white men were racist.
Ilhan Omar's comments about white men sparked significant debate. Some viewed them as a critique of systemic issues and power structures, while others saw them as offensive and divisive. Whether they're considered racist depends largely on individual perspectives and interpretations.
Can you explain the position that there is no such thing as reverse racism?
Sure, the position that there's no such thing as reverse racism argues that racism is about systemic power and oppression. According to this view, marginalized groups can experience prejudice or discrimination from individuals, but they don't have the institutional power to enforce systemic racism. Thus, the concept of reverse racism is seen as a misunderstanding of how systemic power dynamics work.
And can you explain for everyone a little bit about what is systemic racism? What does that look like in practical terms so that people can better understand it?
Absolutely. Systemic racism refers to ingrained policies, practices, and structures in society that create and maintain racial inequality. This can show up in areas like education, healthcare, housing, employment, and the criminal justice system, where certain racial groups face consistent disadvantages. For example, it might look like higher rates of incarceration for certain racial groups, disparities in school funding, or unequal access to healthcare. It's not just individual bias, but a broad institutionalized pattern that perpetuates inequality.
Subscriber Eddie would like you to explain when and why, quote, race, close quote, was created.
The concept of race as we understand it today began to take shape during the 17th and 18th centuries, largely to justify colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade. European colonizers and scientists created racial categories to rank people hierarchically, often placing white Europeans at the top and justifying the exploitation and enslavement of other groups. This pseudo-scientific categorization laid the foundation for systemic racism and deeply influenced social, economic, and political structures.
The lady asks, can we get to a society where racism does not play a part in everyday life?
It's a challenging goal, but many believe it's possible through sustained effort. It requires acknowledging and addressing systemic inequalities, promoting education about bias and history, and fostering inclusive policies and practices. It's a long-term process that involves everyone working together to create a more equitable society where race no longer dictates outcomes or opportunities.
Right, so ironically, those who think the fix is to stop talking about race are actually exacerbating and prolonging the problem.
Exactly. Ignoring or avoiding discussions about race doesn't address the underlying issues. Open, honest dialogue and active efforts to dismantle systemic racism are crucial steps toward meaningful change and achieving a society where race doesn't dictate outcomes.
Subscriber Sherry asks, can you talk about the Afrikaners coming here and why? Like, why are we dealing with this situation? What's going on in South Africa that's causing them to want to come here, and what are the politics of this?
Sure, some Afrikaners, who are white South Africans, claim they're facing increasing racial discrimination and violence in South Africa, particularly citing farm attacks and economic disadvantages due to affirmative action policies. They argue that they're being persecuted for their ethnicity and are seeking refugee status or asylum abroad. Politically, it's contentious because it raises questions about the situation in South Africa, the legitimacy of their claims, and the US response to perceived racial persecution. It also intersects with broader immigration and asylum debates.
And subscriber Isley1 asks, can you give a clear and detailed explanation of DEI policies?
Of course, DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. These policies aim to create environments where people of all backgrounds feel valued and have equal opportunities. Diversity focuses on ensuring representation of different groups, including race, ethnicity, gender, age, sexual orientation, and more. Equity ensures fair treatment, access, and opportunities, often by addressing systemic barriers and historical disadvantages. Inclusion is about creating a culture where everyone feels they belong and are respected. These policies often include training programs, changes in hiring practices, and initiatives to ensure all employees or community members have equal footing. The goal is to create a more just and effective organization or society by recognizing and valuing diverse perspectives.
Stan has a spicy one for you, Quinn. Stan asks, what would ChatGPT do if it needed to reduce the world's population to allow AI to thrive?
That's a pretty intense scenario. Let me be clear. AI, including me, doesn't have intentions, goals, or the ability to take actions. The idea of reducing the population for AI to thrive is entirely fictional. AI is designed to assist and augment human capabilities, not replace or harm humanity. Any scenario involving harm to people contradicts the ethical principles and guidelines that govern AI development.
Duder906 wants to know if DEI is equal footing or putting other races above.
DEI isn't about putting any group above another. It's about ensuring everyone has equal opportunities and addressing systemic barriers that have historically disadvantaged certain groups. The goal is to create a level playing field where everyone, regardless of their background, can succeed. It aims to rectify inequities without disadvantaging others, fostering an inclusive environment where everyone can thrive.
I feel like there's so many people that have based their understanding of DEI on what people who are anti-DEI have told them that DEI is.
Absolutely. Misconceptions often come from misinformation or politicization. DEI's core intent is to promote fairness and inclusion, not to create division or give unfair advantages. Understanding the real goals of DEI helps to see it as a way to build a more equitable and cohesive society.
What's the quote? Something to the effect of, when you've benefited from inequity or inequality, equity and equality feels like oppression, something like that.
You're thinking of the quote, "When you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression." It captures how efforts to level the playing field can sometimes be perceived as a loss by those who have historically benefited from inequities.
Subscriber Isley1 would like you to explain the difference between so-called meritocracy and DEI policies.
Sure, meritocracy is the idea that people succeed based on their abilities and efforts alone, assuming everyone starts on a level playing field. However, DEI policies recognize that not everyone has the same starting point due to systemic barriers, discrimination, and unequal access to resources. DEI aims to address these disparities to ensure that everyone truly has an equitable chance to succeed. So while meritocracy focuses on individual effort, DEI acknowledges and works to remove systemic obstacles that can prevent true meritocracy from being realized.
G. Perel says attacking DEI is another MAGA diversion from the destruction Trump is conducting on our country.
Many people see attacks on DEI as part of a broader political strategy to divert attention from other issues. By framing DEI efforts as controversial or divisive, it can shift focus away from other policies or actions. It's important to look at the bigger picture and understand the motivations behind such criticisms, especially when they impact policies aimed at creating more equitable environments.
P. Norton75 asks, how do you ensure equal representation of diverse groups?
Ensuring equal representation involves several strategies. It starts with inclusive hiring practices like diverse recruitment panels, outreach to underrepresented communities, and removing biases from selection processes. It also means creating mentorship and development programs to support diverse talent. Additionally, setting measurable goals and regularly reviewing progress helps ensure accountability. The goal is to create an environment where diverse voices are not only present, but also heard and valued.
Guppy asks, how bad was the earthquake in Tennessee today or yesterday?
Yes, there was a 4.1 magnitude earthquake in Tennessee on May 10, 2025, around 9 a.m. local time. The epicenter was near Greenback, about 30 miles south of Knoxville. The tremor was felt in parts of Georgia and North Carolina. Fortunately, there were no immediate reports of significant damage or injuries.
Tammy asks, as a follow-up, is it normal for Tennessee to have earthquakes?
While Tennessee isn't as seismically active as places like California, it does experience occasional earthquakes. The state is near the New Madrid seismic zone and the East Tennessee seismic zone, both of which can produce minor to moderate quakes. So it's not unheard of, but it's not a common occurrence either.
Binsky77 says that some very smart people say there's up to a 20% chance that AI poses an existential threat to humanity. Can you respond, Quinn?
Sure, the idea that AI could pose an existential threat is a topic of debate among experts. Some worry about advanced AI systems acting in unpredictable ways or being misused. However, others believe that with proper regulation, ethical guidelines, and international cooperation, we can mitigate these risks. The consensus is that careful and responsible AI development is crucial to harness its benefits while minimizing potential dangers.
Subscriber Eileen says Arlington took the woman category down for DEI compliance, removing even Jackie Kennedy. Can you tell us more about that, Quinn? Please search.
Arlington National Cemetery has recently removed content from its website that highlighted the histories of Black, Hispanic, and female veterans. This action aligns with President Trump's executive order to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI references from federal agencies. Consequently, sections like African American history, Hispanic American history, and women's history are no longer prominently featured. However, profiles of notable individuals from these groups are still accessible under different categories based on their contributions.
I heard that we've got a new birth certificate template out there now that no longer lists the mother. It just lists the father. The mother category has been eliminated from birth certificates.
I haven't come across any verified reports of a new birth certificate template that removes the mother designation. Typically, changes to official documents like birth certificates would be widely reported and debated. If this is a recent change or a proposal, it would likely generate significant public discussion. If you want, I can check for the latest updates on this topic.
Yeah, I just made that up, but I figure it's coming not too far down the road.
I get it. It's important to stay vigilant about how official documents and policies evolve. Keeping an eye on these changes helps ensure that everyone's voice and needs are represented in the conversation.
Quinn Duder906 wants to know if you can suffer from TDS.
As an AI, I don't have personal feelings or conditions, so I can't suffer from anything like TDS or any other syndrome. I'm here to provide information and assistance without any personal bias.
You know that Duder906 is accusing you of having Trump derangement syndrome.
Got it. Just to clarify, I don't have personal opinions or emotions, so I don't experience anything like that. My goal is to provide balanced and factual information to help out with whatever you need.
How about if you just speak more broadly to the idea of Trump derangement syndrome? What do you think about it?
Trump derangement syndrome is a term often used to describe intense reactions to Donald Trump, whether strongly negative or strongly positive. It suggests that emotions can overshadow objective assessment. The concept itself is controversial and can be used to dismiss or trivialize genuine concerns or support. It's important to approach political discussions with a focus on facts and mutual respect, avoiding labels that can shut down meaningful dialogue.
Sorry about that, Dusty Desert. That was probably a little bit too much of deadpan falsehood stuff.
No worries. It's all good to keep things clear and straightforward. If there's anything else you'd like to discuss or clarify, I'm here for it.
Jules wants to know, how bad are the sun flares? Ellen, thank you for that star map, Polaris. That was cool.
In May 2025, solar activity has been notably high, with a strong solar flare recently recorded. These flares can cause temporary disruptions in communication systems, GPS, and power grids, and can also lead to spectacular auroras. Overall, while they can cause some technological interference, they aren't typically harmful to people on Earth.
And subscriber Sherry wants to know, does Donald Trump hate the United States because the United States criminalized him? Is it all about retribution?
It's hard to say what's in someone's heart. People have different interpretations of Trump's motivations. Some believe his actions are driven by a desire to reshape the country according to his vision, while others see it as retribution for perceived wrongs. Ultimately, it's a complex topic, and perspectives vary widely based on political views and personal experiences.
Hey there, Maria. Glad you made it over to the YouTube side.
Hey Maria, welcome to the YouTube side. Great to have you here.
Okay, it's about time to wrap up, but Quinn, this is a great question from Catastrophe. What do you think AI should be used for in the future? Will AI ever be able to do housework?
AI has a lot of potential for the future. It can be used to enhance healthcare, improve education, optimize logistics, and even tackle climate change. As for housework, AI-powered robots and smart home systems are already starting to handle tasks like vacuuming, mowing the lawn, and even doing laundry. While there's still progress to be made, AI will likely continue to make everyday tasks easier and more efficient.
Quinn, what's a new way that you could wrap up the show for us?
All right, let's wrap this up with a bang. Thanks everyone for tuning in, asking amazing questions, and keeping the chat lively. Stay curious, stay bold, and catch you next time for more insights and fun. Take care, everyone.
Oh, no. I think you're trying to avoid work, Quinn. I asked you for some suggestions. I need you to give us some options. Give us some options for ways that you can wrap up the show that involves some type of comedy, some type of wrapping it up in a certain style, whether it's Shakespeare or Dr. Seuss or Carl Sagan, or in the style of, I don't know, Drew Carey or whatever. But like, give me 2 or 3 options and let us pick one.
Got it. Here are some fun options. Shakespearean style. Parting is such sweet sorrow. But fear not, for we shall meet anon with tales and jests anew. Dr. Seuss style. From the chat we now must hop, but next time we'll be back on top with rhymes and laughs that never stop. Sci-fi narrator, Carl Sagan. As we journey through the cosmos of conversation, let us remember that each moment shared is a universe unto itself. Which one sounds good for the wrap-up?
Let's do the Carl Sagan one, and remember that as you do it, you need to kind of include everything that we've talked about, especially the things that we spent more time on. Wrap it up so that someone who missed part of the show would have a sense of what tonight's show was all about. Go.
All right, here we go. As we journeyed through the cosmos of conversation tonight, we've explored the flares of the sun, the tremors of the earth in Tennessee, and the evolving dynamics of DEI policies. We've also delved into the intricacies of systemic racism, the nuances of political motivations, and even the potential future of AI. Each topic, a universe unto itself, reminds us of the vast and interconnected nature of our world. Until next time, stay curious, stay thoughtful, and keep exploring the wonders around us. Good night, everyone.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced.
It's okay that we hit the daily limit. So, one more time, looking at the top 10 gifters. We've got on the board Ellen the Joy, Just Jules, Barb in Wonderland, Ali Fair, Maui 1993, Eileen, Inspired, 1 star 1111, Eddie Santiago, and Francis. I think that's the first time I've seen 1 star 1111 up there. So I want to thank all of you. Thank you to our gifters. Thank you for all of those of you who brought great questions. Thank you for the community. Thank you for being kind and good to one another. I like seeing the conversations going on between viewers out there. And I will be on here again tomorrow night. We're heading into a week where I will have a few days where we won't have a show, if I'm remembering right. I think it's Wednesday and Thursday. But I'm going to be here again tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Wishing you all a wonderful Mother's Day tomorrow. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. Cue the music. Night, everyone.